wasn't expecting that one. Yeah, it's just so great. This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on.
5 minutes ago, a low-profile storage facility in California opened a unit connected to Meghan Markle. And what was discovered inside was neither keepsakes nor household items, but proof of a carefully maintained plan that had been developing for years, leaving the monarchy now preparing for serious repercussions, because just after 6:30 a.m. on November 29, as the California morning remained dim and subdued with winter light, a single phone call triggered a chain reaction neither the United States nor the United Kingdom was ready to confront when the long-serving facility manager, a man with over 2 decades on the job and no prior exposure to scandal, contacted the legal representative supervising a court-ordered inventory review and urgently stated that the unit had been opened and immediate attention was required, prompting unmarked vehicles to arrive within 40 minutes, including one carrying an individual later identified as having links to an elite private security firm often used by high-profile clients. As the unit itself had been rented nearly 4 years earlier, shortly after Meghan and Harry relocated to California, and had remained largely dormant, accessed sporadically and discreetly, often during late night or early morning hours, drawing no public attention despite long-standing private concern within palace circles, fueled by persistent rumours that Meghan had retained sensitive materials from her time inside the royal household, not merely personal effects, but items capable of reshaping narratives, reigniting controversy, or revealing deeply buried tensions. And when the metal door lifted and harsh fluorescent light spilled across the concrete floor, the rumours became reality in the form of numerous heavy boxes, some labelled and others not, including several clearly marked with dates spanning 2018, 2019 and early 2020, a period pivotal for both the Sussexes and the monarchy. And by 7:00 a.m. discreet alerts were already circulating through influential private channels from Los Angeles to New York, Washington and London, reaching Buckingham Palace, where a senior advisor flagged the notice describing the preliminary contents as significant, a term reserved only for matters of major consequence, which quickly reached Kensington Palace and Prince William, who immediately grasped the urgency and asked not what had been found, but how much time remained before others learned of it. While King Charles, briefed shortly afterward, reacted with visible fatigue and concern upon hearing that documents and recordings were involved, a word that resonated ominously, as at nearly the same moment in the Montecito Hills Meghan herself was informed and responded with silent composure, fully aware this reckoning had always been possible. And as the morning progressed, the boxes were photographed, catalogued, and sealed under heightened scrutiny before the first was opened at 9:22 a.m. Pacific Time, to reveal meticulously preserved leather-bound journals, labelled in Meghan's handwriting with dates tied to the most turbulent year of internal royal conflict, followed by rows of flash drives marked only by months leading up to the Sussexes' departure and sealed envelopes bearing the royal crest, including one labelled private correspondence, triggering an immediate escalation as officials recognised this was no longer a routine inventory but a severe breach, prompting urgent communications back to London, where the palace's crisis team convened in secure conditions. Fully aware that journals and recordings could dismantle the long-maintained strategy of dignified silence, a realization that unsettled senior royals including Princess Anne, who quickly identified the deliberate nature of storing such materials abroad and questioned whether Harry was aware. While William, receiving his own briefing, remained outwardly calm yet clearly calculating, understanding that if these records contained even a portion of the privately rumoured conflicts, the monarchy was facing a prolonged and unforgiving storm, a fear that only intensified when a second box was opened later that morning in California, revealing carefully curated folders of internal palace documents, confidential schedules, meeting notes and briefing papers, unmistakably tied to the inner workings of the royal household, and preserved with clear intent rather than accident. The inventory team hesitated, uncertain whether to proceed without further approval, but the supervising attorney's instructions were explicit and uncompromising. Catalogue everything, photograph everything, interpret nothing and speculate about nothing, even as unspoken speculation drifted through the room like fog, especially when one unopened folder immediately drew attention. A thick file labelled Commonwealth Discussions, Winter 2019, with an added note indicating personal annotations, a phrase that alone triggered alarm across secure lines to London because Winter 2019 marked one of the most volatile phases of the Sussex period. Defined by private negotiations, shifting expectations, and internal disagreements over Meghan's developing role within the Commonwealth Initiative, a project the palace had envisioned as a way to blend her heritage, international appeal, and the monarchy's future ambitions. Yet behind closed doors it became a source of tension rather than unity, and now records from those conversations sat in a California storage unit, potentially exposing who supported her vision, who opposed it, and who tried to reshape the narrative entirely, prompting the supervising attorney to handle the folder with extreme care and isolate it in a secure case. Though the atmosphere truly changed when a slim black recording device was discovered beneath the folders. An older, easily concealed model stored without batteries, wrapped carefully in cloth, and placed beside labeled USB drives not yet examined, accompanied by a tag reading, 2019 notations. A word choice that caused the team to freeze as everyone grasped what it might suggest, whether voice recordings, personal reflections, or the unthinkable possibility of private palace meetings captured for protection, leading to an immediate halt in inspection and a red-level alert sent directly to London, where William, Charles, and Princess Anne were notified within minutes, with Charles receiving the update first and feeling a heavy ache settle behind his eyes at the mention of recordings. Not fearing gossip or headlines but fearing proof, tangible evidence that could confirm long-suspected tensions. His thoughts spiralling toward Catherine, private conversations, and moments of conflict, never meant for public scrutiny, while William responded with measured calculation, aware that recordings could destabilize narratives he had worked to contain, and Anne reacted most sharply. Recognizing that institutions fall not from scandal, but from documented truth, and ordering everything secured before anyone else could reach it. Yet the most sobering discovery came when the third box was opened to reveal handwritten letters addressed to Meghan from palace insiders, and buried beneath them, a sealed envelope instantly recognizable by Diana's distinctive handwriting, transforming concern into full crisis as the room fell silent over something that should not logically or procedurally exist there, prompting careful handling and immediate transmission of the news to London, where the palace understood the implications instantly, since Diana's correspondence had been meticulously archived, and any unknown letter could only mean it had been privately saved and deliberately passed on. Shaking Charles profoundly when he read the update in his dim study and whispered, "Impossible." Not in denial but in grief, knowing Diana never acted without purpose, while William absorbed the news grimly, fiercely protective of his mother's legacy and immediately questioning whether Harry had seen the letter. A question that exposed the heart of the looming storm, as Princess Anne, briefed shortly after, focused not on scandal but on preservation, insisting the letter could not remain in California. Even as Meghan, informed of the discovery, reacted not with shock but with quiet sorrow and asked only a single question. She spoke softly into the phone and asked whether it had been opened, and when the answer came back that it had not, Meghan closed her eyes and released a slow breath that carried not relief but acceptance, because she had always known exactly what was inside. And as the California team continued cataloguing the third box, they uncovered beneath the envelope in Diana's handwriting a collection of letters from senior palace figures. Some reassuring, some guarded, some impossible to read in tone. Alongside notes on early media strategies, private assurances from advisors, and one particularly unsettling document, a printed transcript of a phone call between two palace officials discussing Meghan's early public reception, ending with the line, "She will need to be managed carefully." A sentence that chilled the room because it revealed not a personality conflict, but the start of a pattern long suspected and publicly denied, now preserved in ink and paper. Prompting one attorney to murmur that it was bigger than expected, though in truth it was far larger, as the fifth box revealed itself to be a deliberate archive of Meghan's time within the royal household, filled with binders labelled by era from 2017 through the 2020 exit negotiations, each containing annotated briefings, emails, and handwritten notes questioning shifting narratives and unspoken decisions, culminating in a 2019 communications review that exposed internal discussions about redirecting press focus and drafts of supportive statements that were never released. While in London, fear replaced alarm as Charles grasped that what lay in California was not fabrication, but omission, carefully managed silence that now threatened trust itself, and Anne recognized the materials as safeguards rather than souvenirs. A realization that shook Charles deeply because it suggested Meghan had entered the institution already preparing for self-defense, while William's concern turned inward toward Harry, knowing either knowledge or ignorance would be devastating. And back in California, when Meghan was told there was a sixth box, she calmly revealed it was Harry's. A revelation that transformed the crisis into a royal reckoning. Because when the smaller box marked in Harry's handwriting was opened, it revealed disordered folders of raw emotion, including years of messages between the brothers, letters to Charles never sent or unanswered, notes from meetings where Harry felt sidelined, and finally, a sealed envelope marked with Diana's presence. A discovery that silenced the room and unraveled the palace across the ocean, as William felt grief rather than anger and Charles understood this was not an attack but a record. A painful chronicle of family fractures and institutional demands, while Anne named it plainly as the moment they had always feared, not for scandal but for honesty. And as Meghan stood alone in her kitchen listening to the update and learning Harry's box had been opened, she accepted it quietly, knowing the truth had always been destined to surface, because what now stood revealed was legacy, fracture, and a history preserved beyond control, leaving the monarchy facing chapters it could no longer seal away.